Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back to Magical Theory.
Yes,
Harry
welcome
Potter
back.
podcast. Welcome back to Lena and Jeff. Back at it.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing?
Good.
It's been an exciting and fun week of / half week of time off and
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Playing Wizards Unite, but also it's raining.
It is raining. It has been raining all day.
It's been raining.
It is
and
rainy
I looked
day
at
Winston.
the forecast and it's raining all week. What
I know.
even is this?
Other Fresnans, I think is our nickname,
Fresno, yeah.
kept telling me, like, okay, just wait till November. It's going to rain and be cloudy all day, every day. I didn't believe them. And up until, like, last Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were all like, sure, Karen.
Yeah.
It's going to rain. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
not-
then all of a sudden it just like, oh, rain all
Well,
day,
it was
every day.
bad because it was like super dusty and it was terrible air
was.
quality. So it was like we went from not being able to breathe like the whole day, and then it just was raining.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
And because it was dust, it was literally like one day hazardous, like above the top.
It was crazy.
And the next day, good.
Yeah.
Like as good as it can be, basically, because it all knocked down.
Yeah.
And then we also had like a bizarre electrical issue at our house, and are very thankful for a couple repairmen who could come out during the holiday,
Yeah.
which was really lovely.
3 days
and
in a row.
Were able to help us out, and it was
Whoops.
a problem that started out somewhat minor and then escalated and then got fixed, and that was great.
Yep.
So now we're all set and we're ready to podcast. And as he was going through, one of the rooms that was affected was this room, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, are you singers?" Oh no,
not at all.
But then it was fun because he came back and he was like, "Oh, I was talking to my wife about your podcast. She's a huge fan, and so are my daughters of Harry Potter." It was just really quite lovely and a good connection to our podcast because
Yeah.
we leave it set up for the
Right,
most
yeah,
part because
right.
it's some equipment to set
Well,
up.
this is the podcast room.
It is the podcast room. Yes, it is.
It's also where I used to record, but then I chose a new spot, and I'll
Yeah.
probably choose a new spot in the new year.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe the other bedroom. I don't know. We've been
Yeah,
talking
no,
about
I
how to
get-
get the background right and things like that
Yeah, I get pretty bored.
with the location.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're a variety person for sure. Ready to go though?
I am ready.
Okay, I'm excited to get into it. So, Juan's ready. Yes. Everyone can turn. Oh, I don't think I wrote down the right page.
Oh,
no.
no, Jeffrey.
I feel like 215 was the last one. I forgot to update it.
We are in page. Oh, that's too far. Too far. We're after Nicholas Flamel, 228.
Okay, good. So everyone turn to page 228. Norbert the Norwegian Ridgeback. Today's lesson is called Distractions.
I was actually going to suggest this, but I was like, that seems too obvious to me.
Well, I have to say it was a hard one to come up. I say this every week, but this week I really feel like it was very difficult to come up with a theme that was, provocative. I don't know what the right word is,
Yeah.
but something that's going to get us thought-provoking maybe is the right word. But here's the synopsis. So the chapter starts with our trio relieved that Quirrell seemed not to be giving in to Snape as easily as they might have thought, but suddenly stressed by their upcoming first final exams. While studying in the library, Hagrid asked them to visit him in his hut. After discovering that many of the professors helped to hide the Sorcerer's Stone, they find out that Hagrid is nurturing a dragon egg that he won from a stranger in a pub. Later, Harry suspects that Malfoy overhears them talking about the dragon egg. After they see the new dragon emerge from that egg, their awe is quickly replaced by anxiety when they realize that Malfoy, had seen them. They convince Hagrid that Norbert should be delivered to Charlie Weasley in Romania. After delivering that dragon to Charlie's friends, they are dismayed when Filch catches them in the act. It's an interesting chapter. I titled it Distractions, and I think you're probably thinking along the same lines because it feels a little bit like a filler chapter.
Yeah, I had to. Okay, so now my thing is I read the chapter twice. So I read the words the first time around, and then the second time I'm doing like an intentional skimming of trying to think through, I don't know, other sorts of themes or ideas. And I had to like refresh myself and be like, what is the point of this chapter? And then I was like, oh, okay, so later we'll find out some more like big connection. But I was like, but still, there must be, I don't know, we know J.K. Rowling, there's like other things that are, the way she writes is intentional. I think we were talking about that. And you like also thinking about the purpose of dialogue. So I was really trying to pay attention to dialogue a little bit more on my second like intentional reading through it. But yeah, the whole as I was reading, and I was just like, okay, cool, like random. That's what I felt. And I was like, okay, so obviously they're stressed because so our trio is stressed because they have like all this homework and they have all this going on, and then Ron is in dismay because he's like, oh my gosh, another thing to deal with, a dragon egg. Oh my gosh. And in the meantime, like they're also like still on this hunt for trying to figure out what's going on with this fluffy trapdoor and Philosopher's Stone situation here. So they, for 11 years old, have a lot on their plate.
Their first exams. Yeah. I totally agree. And I think it is, we get the benefit again of hindsight to be like, well, J.K. Rowling is doing this on purpose. Like, first of all, to have some time go by. But secondly, like, it's a play for us on like how urgent is the kids have been so urgent about the Sorcerer's Stone since they learned about Nicholas Flamel and what it is, and then like the business with Snape, that now all of a sudden they're like, oh well, okay, I guess Quirrell is holding out, so like look at all this other stuff going on for us. We still got Malfoy nonsense, we got this dragon craziness that bites Ron. I gotta be honest with you, I kind of forgot about that because it's not in the movies, and I haven't read this book in a little while at least. And it is all self-contained into one chapter. The dragon, the whole story kind of with the dragon is tied up here. Yeah.
Well, that's why I was wondering. I was like, well, what's the point of this chapter? Right. So go into our fantastic beast and where to find them knowledge. We know that dragon eggs are Class A non-tradable goods, which, I mean, it comes into cue a couple times in the chapter. So like Hagrid's like, oh, talking about the man who he got it from was like, oh, I think he was quite glad to get rid of it. And it's like, yeah, it's a dragon egg. You're not supposed to have that, Hagrid. And then also like when they're in the library, they're trying to figure out what could Hagrid possibly be looking for. Right. And then Ron, well, Harry's just like, oh yeah, like Hagrid's always wanted a dragon because, you know, it's Harry. He doesn't know anything about anything. And he's just like so innocently like, oh, that's cool. Cool. And Ron's like, dragon breeding was outlawed by the Warlocks Convention of 1709. Everyone knows that. And it's like, clearly not, Ron. Clearly not. And the other thing I thought about though was, okay, so remember like earlier on we were talking about perhaps Harry having some suspicion of Harry, or at least from the reader's perspective. If you're reading this for the first time and then you find out like in one of the early chapters that Hagrid got kicked out of Hogwarts and you're like, oh, what's that about? And Harry was kind of
like when he shows up,
doubting him a little bit of like, I don't know about this Hagrid dude. And then it kind of just goes away. And so then I was wondering, well, maybe like if I'm the first time reading this, am I supposed to like, is this supposed to raise another red flag about or like a red herring or whatever, like some sort of suspicion about Hagrid again? Because
that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. There is that line in this chapter about how like, well, Snape must know how to get by everything because like he helped protect it. There's like a trip in their logic, right? It's a little confusing because this is where Harry at least only has Snape as the suspect, and like kind of has him, kind of increases how suspicious they are of him by knowing that he helped protect it, because they're like, oh, well then he knows how to get by everything. But it's like, but you're not thinking about any of the other people, including Hagrid, who helped protect it.
Yeah, so
maybe that is there.
Yeah, so we find out that Hagrid and Dumbledore are the only ones that know about Fluffy, or like, I guess, how to get past Fluffy. And yeah, it's still this like, yeah, very much holding on to like, oh, well, Snape, I guess, like doesn't know how to get past Fluffy because the only two people that know are Dumbledore and Hagrid, and I guess Quirrell, which is why he needs him. There's like something that's like not connecting, where it's like, wait a second, this seems weird, you know?
What's the deal here with Snape and Quirrell? Like, why is Quirrell the one holding out, and like, why hasn't he gone to Dumbledore, say, or something? happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Norwegian Ridgeback is one of 10 breeds of dragon. So pure bred, I guess, dragon, because the crossbreeding is not allowed also. But of dragon breeds, there are 10. And they develop fire-breathing abilities earlier than other breeds, around 1 to 3 months.
Yes, they do.
As we see, or I guess are meant to infer from what's happening with Hagrid.
Yeah, I love all this stuff with the dragon is just so funny. Like, I love the idea of like the dragon biting Ron, and then they like go to Madame Pomfrey and like just hope that she can't recognize a dragon bite. He tells her it's a dog bite.
Yeah.
But it's like poisonous.
I mean, if you're a kid, like, you're gonna make something up that you think in your head is like, oh, this seems like it's reasonable, and it's like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about.
I'm also astonished in this chapter at how they get caught at the end, but like how well it goes off with a hitch that they actually like Charlie's friends somehow make it here, and like somehow it's like, what?
They just fly in. Yeah. Well, I was thinking, I was like, isn't this
a
like
dragon?
Well, no, I guess it's no, it's in the spring now because they were talking about Easter holidays. So I guess I was like, shouldn't they be freezing? But no, I guess it's in the spring now.
What that takes my favorite quote, which was like how they managed to get the crate back up to the castle they never knew, and it was like the process of like getting the crate with the dragon. It's just the three of them, like with the crate and the invisibility cloak, and they're like all exhausted and stuff. Come on, don't you remember when Guardian Leviosa, get that sucker in the air?
No, they only need that when they're being confronted with a troll.
Yeah.
Little Ron.
But one of 10 breeds. Okay.
Yeah. So, because something else in Harry Potter Wizards Unite, the baby Norwegian Ridgeback is like a green color.
Yeah, and I also, I always thought that it was supposed to be Norbert.
Well, it just says baby Norwegian Ridgeback. Yeah, it does. But the dragons are supposed to be black. But then in my searching, because I was like, okay, first I want to confirm. I was trying to look at my gameplay, but all my stuff is like disorganized. So I found someone else's gameplay, and it's like a lighter, like pastel type green color.
Yeah, in the game.
Yeah. It's like a lighter green, but there's also like accents of black. So maybe
the
it's
skin
just
color changes as they get older or something.
But apparently in the Lego, there's like a Lego minifigure of Norbert that is that light green color. So I don't know. I wonder if that was like pulling from that a little bit as well. Yeah, one of my quotes was, so like Hagrid's talking about like, oh, I learned about how to raise dragons. Look at all the stuff that I learned from books. And the quote is, he looked very pleased with himself, but Hermione didn't. And so she's like, Hagrid, you live in a wooden house.
Hagrid.
Come on.
There is something very admirable in Hagrid's naivete here. So, because he's like, it's not even that he's naive. He's sort of... he like willingly overlooks the fact that this is an unsustainable situation because he is so enamored with beasts and dragons in particular. Like he knows Hagrid is not stupid. He knows that like he can't keep this dragon in this hut for very long because it's a dragon, and he knows more about dragons than these three. But there's something to me like it's quite realistic that like people, when you're like enamored or in love with something, you kind of would overlook problems and say, you know, I can deal with the problems. I'm going to focus on the fact that like my dream is coming true right now, you know?
So I don't think you read my notes, but this is a perfect connection to something in my second reading of this. I don't know about this connection, but it might add on to what you're saying. So we know that Hagrid loves beasts, creatures. He's the leader of Magizoologists in Wizards Unite. You know, he's part of who he is and what he loves. But I kept focusing on the dialogue, and he kept saying, like, because the kids are like, oh, just like set him free, and they're like, he can't, he'll die, like he's too young, or I can't just let him go off, like I have to, basically saying like I have to be responsible for him at this stage in his life right now, at least, like, or at least know that he would be in good hands. And so I read that again, and I was like, Might it be possible that another layer to this could be that Hagrid feels slight guilt for leaving Harry with the Dursleys and then coming back and picking him up and realizing, wait, these peeps didn't teach you anything about the wizarding world. They were actually trying to suppress it. Like, I don't know. Like, that might be a stretch, but that thought crossed my mind again when I was like, why is there something else that's adding on to this, like, obsessiveness, this not just that he needs to have some sort of safe space, but like he needs to be the one to care for the dragon. And then eventually when they were like, oh, well, we reached out to Charlie, whatever, then he's like, okay, I trust that. But
right.
I don't know, that thought crossed my mind as well.
I like that. Yeah, I had never thought of that.
I don't know, I was trying to find something more than like, okay, this is for the purpose of something else. There needs to be something that's possibly embedded in the character of Hagrid, given the series of events that have led up to this point, that maybe, I don't know, connect to why he is saying the things that he's saying. I mean, yes, he loves Beast. He loves, like, if of anyone that I know in this book so far, like Hagrid is the person that would care for a baby dragon, even though all of this is very illegal.
Yes. He doesn't care.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think it's a good candidate to be the rationalization of this chapter, besides for just taking us from point A to B in the chapter or in the story. Yes, we know that there's a couple things going on in the background, but still she devotes a whole chapter to it. Like, what else is happening in this chapter? It's not just to set up what happens later. So I think that's a good point, and I think it also speaks to like the distraction concept of like what is happening here. That like we deal with having things that matter a lot, but actually sometimes being willing to like let things that matter a little less like take over our time and energy. And that's what happens in this chapter, right? I mean, there's no mention really of the Sorcerer's Stone. They talk about it briefly in Hagrid's hut, but the dragon and the dragon egg is powerful enough to pull them off of thinking about it, right? They kind of like, oh, okay, oh my gosh, a dragon. Yeah, a dragon egg. Yeah. And it almost maybe is meant to serve the same type of purpose for us.
Yeah, to interrupt.
Be like, oh, it'll be fine. Like, Quirrell hangs on. It's no problem. Like, don't worry about it. Ignore the fact that it's in the title of the book.
Well, we already have our key suspect, Severus Snape, Professor Snape. So, yeah.
Severus. Yeah. So I think it's a good chapter. It's like a filler a little bit. It's definitely a passage of time type chapter to get us into like, okay, it's going to be the end of the year and the end of the story type thing. Yeah.
Well, so yeah, like because we already know the story. So there are going to be some sections of book that are more powerful when you go back and you have more information or different information sort of thing. I mean, not every chapter is going to be like, okay, this is like what this like little wrapped up standalone purpose
is. Yeah, I mean,
is.
she had some. It was kind of amazing how well she was able to have like chapters be almost short stories, and then like eventually it needs to be the time like dilated here so that it goes a little faster. Yeah. So I feel pretty good. I think
we have 3 chapters left.
Only 3?
Yeah, I counted before we started the podcast. We have 3 chapters. Forbidden Forest, Through the Trapdoor, The Man with Two Faces.
Wow.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. Wow. I knew Forbidden Forest was next because they get detention. But wow.
Yeah, so it goes fast.
Yeah. This is good. I think we're still hoping to do something special for the end of the book.
Yeah.
We talked maybe about doing a premiere where we have recorded something, podcast episode, but about the book at large, and then premiering it and being able to chat with people if they wanted to watch along with us. But yeah, that's where we're at. You got anything else?
No.
All right, cool. Well,
Until next time.
Until next time. Juan's ready.